Okay. Welcome to episode 62 of Let's Talk Immigration. There's one fluke today that we have a technical fluke where Let's Talk Immigration is not showing up on Morrison Arena. So I'm going to fix that with a retweet. Yep. Okay. So I can go now. If you have a question that you would like to ask me, you can ask me on Telegram. You can ask on YouTube or Facebook or even Twitter. It shows up here now. Okay. And if you ask somewhere else, my team will try to grab it and put the question here. But those are the most predictable places where it shows up right away. I'm Curtis Morrison, Morrison Arena. I have another law firm too, Ready Go Law. That's going to come up in a second. I want your questions. Most of this call is going to be question and answer session, okay? There's one thing I want to talk about before that, and that is mandamus lawsuits. Mandamus lawsuits for AP, people in administrative processing, are still effective. There's a rumor that is like, oh no, don't try that because the government will just file a motion to dismiss. Well, I've got two problems with that rumor, okay? First of all, not always, okay? And even if they do file a motion to dismiss, that does not mean that the lawsuit is over, okay? And the second thing is, we are still seeing plaintiffs in mandamus lawsuits receiving clearances of their administrative processing and being issued visas and coming to the USA and getting green cards and being happy. So let's not pretend like this is not working, because it is working for not all, but a good number of people who are using mandamus lawsuits. Okay. And I have the receipts. That's what they say. That's an English phrase that they say a lot in the US. If you have proof of something, you say, I have the receipts. And so I'm going to show you some receipts. Okay. What I've done is I have taken some of the clearance emails that we have received from embassies. This is produced by my other law firm, so that's why it's got the little red eagle, but it proves the point no matter what. Okay. No matter who you use for your mandamus lawsuit, this is still true. Okay, we filed this lawsuit in October, and in the Central District of California for a F4 in Abu Dhabi. This is example 1. And they got the clearance date this week, January 6th, on Saturday. Okay. The Abu Dhabi clearance letters, emails are long. They're like 3 pages, 4 pages. Okay. Here's one from Yerevan that we got right after Christmas on December 28th. It's for a lawsuit we filed in Maryland. Okay. Brian Green is another attorney that does the work that I do, and he pro hoc vice me there. Pro hoc vice is Latin, meaning just for this case. Like, I'm not admitted to that court, but he is. So he served as local counsel. But F1 category, that's actually not student. That's son or daughter of a U.S. citizen. Filed the lawsuit in August. AP clearance date, December 28th. Okay. I have 7 examples here. I'm going to go through them all because I think it's important. Yerevan. We filed the lawsuit June 6th. Clearance date, December 27th, right after Christmas. And that was for an IR5 at Yerevan, parents of U.S. citizens. Here's a lawsuit that was filed in October. We got AP clearance on December 8th for an EB1. Someone's already asked me, how could you file an EB1 lawsuit in the Central District of California? Okay, because usually EB mandamus lawsuits are filed in D.C. Well, there's 2 situations where you can file a lawsuit for an EB1 in another district within the U.S. The first is where the visa applicant lives in the U.S. on a non-immigrant visa, right? Like a F1 student visa or a J1 or a H1B. So they're in the U.S. in a jurisdiction. That court's jurisdiction has can hear their case. A second situation that you could do that is if you have a tie to that jurisdiction, like your prospective employer is in that jurisdiction, and they're willing to be a plaintiff, or you're willing to take the risk. There is a small risk, sometimes bigger risk, that the State Department files a motion to change venue, and you lose 30 to 60 days of time with us arguing over that. So two situations in which you could take an EB1 visa case in AP and file it outside of DC. Here's a case in the Western District of Wisconsin. I'm admitted to that court. So IR5, parents of U.S. citizens. We filed the lawsuit in August, clearance date November 30th. It's in Abu Dhabi, so it's 3 pages. Here's one for Cairo. We filed the lawsuit in September, clearance date in October for IR1, spouse of a U.S. citizen. You have to love that, right? 1 month after the lawsuit's filed, we have clearance. That's a success, in my view. That was filed in Minnesota with the help of another one of my colleagues who served as local counsel. Okay, here's an EB2 NIW we filed in the Northern District of California. Clearance came September 26, 2023. Northern District of San Francisco. And it was in Montreal. That's example 7. I know that a lot of people from Montreal are getting put in AP. And that is strange. Why it's happening at one embassy, why it doesn't happen at all embassies. Really strange. I see questions are starting to add up over here. No, over there. I don't think you can even see. Anyway, let's answer some of the questions. Omar says it shows. He's talking about the Twitter live stream or something. David says, greetings, Curtis. Would there be any possibility that Congress would say something in our favor, DV 2020? Hi, David. No. Congress is the majority are monsters right now. And so I am scared of anything that they do, but I don't think that diversity visa is on their radar, which is probably a good thing at this moment. A couple years ago, I was more optimistic, but right now, you've got even the Democrats that are willing to, Republicans are against any immigration, but you've got even the Democrats now who are willing to compromise on immigration if it means that they can get money for Ukraine. So we don't want Congress involved with DVs because they would not be helpful at this point. They would do more harm than good. Darlington says, Lord, 2021. Omar says, another day waiting, looking for justice in U.S. court. Good luck. Yes, it's another day to wait. Why Department of State, since we following their statistics, are trying and helping NIVs more than IVs? Omar asked a great question. Secretary Blinken, I invite you to come on my show and we'll ask you that question because you are the one that's prioritizing non-immigrant visas over immigrant visas. I understand that people need to go to Disneyland, but I also think that immigration to America is very important, not only for the social fabric of our nation, but also for our economy and our national security. So, Omar says, hi, I'm Good Luck Plaintiff. I have applied for a tourist visa 2 times, an H-2B visa 1 time from Dublin, USA, U.S. Embassy. They all rejected. Do you think it's bad for future if we win the case and I go to embassy? You've asked a good question. I do not think it's bad. It's very common for non-immigrant visa applicants to be refused. the burden on you is to convince the consular officer that you do not intend to immigrate. That's a difficult burden. You have to have very strong ties outside the U.S. to be able to convince a consular officer of that. So it's very common, and I don't believe that it's bad for the future. However, there is one narrow situation where it has caused problems. I have talked to more than one good luck plaintiff who has gone to a non-immigrant visa interview since 2021 and made a misrepresentation, or they just got facts wrong on their DS-260, and then they went and DS-160. And so the consular officer just gives them a permanent refusal. That permanent refusal follows you, right? You only get a waiver of that under certain situations where you have a qualifying relative in the United States. Not a child, it's got to be a spouse or a parent. It's very difficult. So if you do attend a non-immigrant visa interview, which you already have done a few, just be sure to be very accurate in your representations to the embassy and to the consular officer, because the State Department is unforgiving for misrepresentations. Not that you've done that. I'm not saying that, okay? You're doing great. Yoel says, hi, Curtis. I have a DV 2020 loved one who got accepted to study at a university, but was denied due to the consular agent not having enough proof of return. What would you recommend? Great question. I would recommend that they apply again after they establish more proof, evidence of return. So you might say, well, what would that be? Well, ties to your community. Do you have family in that country? Do you have that you support, that you do things for? Do you have a role in the community? Are you in a club, on a board? Do you have a job in that community? Do you own property in that community? Do you have obligations in that community? I mean, you just need to strengthen your participation and involvement in your home community. That's what I recommend, and then apply. There's nothing wrong with applying immediately after, too. I mean, you can go use a different embassy even. That's fine. I often talk to people who are denied at one embassy, go to another embassy, and they're approved. Sella says, context for last question was a non-immigrant visa. Immigrant visas, if you want to go from one embassy to another embassy, it's a big problem. Okay. Sella says, good luck. GL, that's what she means. Do courts post rulings on portal, or do the judges read out the rulings? Do the courts issue notice as to when they'll release the rulings? I do not know with precision how this is done at procedurally that day the opinion is released. I just know that it comes up on, and I'll get an email that's a notification, and I'll be able to download it. Now, how that happens inside that building in the Washington, D.C., I don't know. I don't know the actual procedure that happens that day. I just know that I will receive an email as a noticed attorney, and there's about 50 noticed attorneys in the Good Luck Gomez Matters. All of us will receive emails, and we'll be able to download the opinion when it happens. And I'll share it. So some of you ask me every day or every week, do you have an update? Okay, I'm going to share an update if I have it. I'm not going to keep it secret, so you don't need to ask me every day. But it is nice. It was nice to hear 1,000 times Merry Christmas, 1,000 times Happy New Year. That was nice. So, Omer, I reject an exchange program because their requirements was that you don't have to apply for a green card or other immigration application, and the visa was J1. Omer brings up an important point for people considering a J1. There is an exclusion on a J1 that says that you can apply for a green card within 2 years of getting the J1. Now, that can be waived. There's a little box that the consular officer can check. I don't know. I'm not an expert about that little box, but I can tell you that this is an important issue for J1. So it's good that you flagged it. Stephen Bay says from Facebook, Mr. Morrison, please tell me what's the reason of Judge Mehta to take all this time to DV 2020? What happened with us? Okay, I'm glad you asked this question because you do have a different view from the way my view is. Judge Mehta, he issued an order that in the Gomez case that put a stay on the lawsuit. What that means, he put the implementation of his order on hold until the Circuit Court of Appeals makes their opinion. Okay. So I guess maybe you're asking why he did that. He did that because the government asked him to, and the government had a compelling argument on why he should. And that is, if he didn't do that, they would have to issue the visas, and then the appeal wouldn't matter, because the purpose of their appeal is for them to not issue the visas. And if he didn't issue the stay, then they would not be able to get any relief from the appeal. So they had a argument that made sense. And so Judge Mehta sided with them on that argument, and he granted the stay. So now Judge Mehta is not involved. We're not waiting on him now. We're waiting on the 3-judge panel of the Circuit Court of Appeals for the District Court of Columbia to issue their opinion. And then we'll go back to Judge Mehta if the opinion is positive. Okay. Okay, I'm almost to the bottom of the question. So if you haven't asked your question yet, now's your time to get it in, okay? Homer says, so my visa did not reject it permanently, thanks God, right? Also, do you think it's better to go to embassy from Dublin or Turkey? I was selected there, and I'm a resident in Ireland now. Thank you. You're so good. Oh, well, thank you. I don't have enough information to make a call about Ireland or Dublin. I have extremely little experience with that embassy. I have much more experience with Ankara, and I would say avoid it if you can, but it sounds like you attempted it and it didn't work. But I don't know. If you had to choose between one or the other, I would definitely go to Dublin. But if you go to Dublin and it doesn't work, go to Ankara. How about that? Okay. I have got through all my questions. So if you haven't asked a question yet, go ask the question. It'll come up on my screen. Okay. What else was I going to share? If you have entered the U.S. on the southern border and you have not filed an application for asylum, you need to understand that you've only got a year to do that. Okay. After that, you've got problems. You have to get special permission to do that. So I personally do not handle asylum, but my partner, Rafael Urena, does, and he has a team of very experienced attorneys who handle, and paralegals who handle asylum cases. So hit up Rafael Urena if you have an asylum situation. Do not wait and hope that everything works out itself, because it won't. They put you in removal proceedings because they're going to remove you. Okay, so you have to be affirmative and do what you need to do. Okay. Okay. Another question. Any notice about election could affect us in the future? I don't know what a notice about election. I would say immigration attorneys, not just me, are generally warning all immigrant families that if there's a benefit that you wanted, you need to apply for it and seize the moment while it is still available. Because the right in the U.S., the conservatives, are at war with They say that they don't like illegal immigration, but then they still attack legal immigration too. So they're just basically don't like people that look like them, you know? It's kind of sad, but I'm not optimistic about the future when it comes to immigration. So I'm just like, if you have an opportunity, if you have an unreasonable delay right now, do a mandamus lawsuit because you can get this all wrapped up before the next administration, and that would be ideal. One of the things the Trump administration did when he first took office, Secretary of State Tillerson and Pompeo continued with this policy, was they didn't replace people when they left. Okay, so the State Department staffing literally like crashed. Like every time somebody quit, they weren't replaced. So like when the Biden administration took over the Bureau of Consular Affairs from the Trump administration, some would argue they haven't yet, but it was barely staffed. So anybody that controls the White House can indirectly cause lots of problems for immigrants, even without Congress. So if you have an opportunity to get something done this year instead of next year, do it this year. Thank you for bringing that up, Omar. I've got two Omars talking to me at the same time. Okay. I meant in the future for the green card process, can I transfer or continue my process from Dublin or Accra, or is it better to choice? Transfer. Green card process. You were talking about a non-immigrant visa, and now you're talking about a green card process. Let me scroll back. Maybe you're talking about two different visa applications on the same live. Yes, you're a good luck plaintiff. So you're talking about for the good luck situation. So for good luck, Dublin would be better. Okay. At Ankara, you're going to have a lot of competition with other DV 2021 good luck plaintiffs from Turkey. There are many. And also from Iran, there are many. And some other countries too, where in Dublin, you will not have as much competition. And some of that competition, they may get visas through the Ray order in Dublin, not you, because you were not already waiting on Dublin, unless you were. It just depends on what you were doing. It depends on September 30th, 2021, which embassy were you waiting on? Okay. You don't get to pretend like it's Dublin now. I don't know what it was on September 30th, 2021, but that's the one you're locked into for the Ray order. Okay. That doesn't mean that you can't change your interview location. We don't actually know whether or not you can change your interview location. And we will not know that. There's lots of questions about how the good luck and Ray order would be implemented if we win the appeal that we do not know the answers to, and we will not know the answers to unless we win the appeal. Anjed says, any hope of 2021? Okay, 2021 was not my favorite year. It's over. I think what you're asking is Diversity Visa 2021. The Diversity Visa program for 2021 is over, and only the plaintiffs in good luck and the DV selectees who are waiting on interviews for visas from the Schengen area in Brazil and those other countries that are covered in the Schengen or in the Ray order, Ray versus Biden order, their journeys continue. Most DV 2021 journeys are over. But you're not saying you're a plaintiff, so I am a little concerned about your situation. Okay. Homer says, I didn't forget that Iranian person, the case number was 2021 as 1 in Ankara, and he doesn't get his 2 in L. That is true. If you go into SIAC and you go case number 2020-21 AS1, I don't think that person got a visa. That's actually ends up being true every couple of years, that the very first number doesn't even get the visa because it's dependent. It's not in case number order. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to scream, but there is a myth that these visas are issued in case number order, and they're not. There are many other factors. The AV stage date is determined in part, well, on when KSCC has processed the DS-260. And that is determined on when you submit the DS-260, right? So there are ways with a higher case number to gain advantage over a lower case number. One way is an early submission of a DS-260. Another way is relocating your physical self to a country with a U.S. embassy that doesn't have DVs, like Mexico or India or Bangladesh. Okay. So I don't see any more questions. Is there anything else I wanted to rant about today? I say this all the time. If you are a DV 2023 selectee who's entering the US right now, you're probably not watching this video, but you're going to want your green card. And your green card is going to be mailed to the address that was on that little DS-260. And here's the problem. If the post office doesn't know that you live there, they may not deliver it, and they may send it back to the USCIS, and then the USCIS might keep it. That's a problem because it's going to take you another year and another process to get the green card. So, incoming immigrants, no matter who's watching this, if you're going to immigrate to the U.S. someday and you move to the U.S., right when you get to the U.S., whether you're staying at an Airbnb, you're staying with your uncle, your grandmother, your brother-in-law, your friend you met on the internet, go to their mailbox. Take a piece of paper. Write your name. Don't write my name. Write your name. Like, see my name? Put it inside the mailbox with a piece of tape so that the post office person, the mailman, knows that you accept mail at that address. Very important. I talked to one person a week who didn't do that and has to wait a year for their green card. It's pretty sad. Shanrika says, any hope for DV 2020? It would be premature to give up hope for DV 2020. All DV 2020 selectees who were not issued visas in 2020 are automatically Gomez class members, and there's 9,095 visas reserved for Gomez class members. Now, there are probably over 40,000 Gomez class members. We don't know the exact number, and it's always changing. It's going down, I think. But it would be premature for you to give up hope before the Circuit Court of Appeals for the District Court of Columbia issued its opinion on the appeal. Okay, that's good. That's 30 minutes. That was good for episode 62. I'll see you next Wednesday for episode 63. Stay cool, unless you're in a cold place, and then stay warm.